The most painful cave deaths ever.
Cave incident. It was June 24th, 1967, and 10 cavers were about to enter Mossdale Cavern to help clear some of the deeper passages and map them out. The two
For what? Like, I don't understand. I understand people, like, having the hobby of caving, but I don't get it. I don't get it. If you go caving, okay, wait, there's two types of caving, and one of them I understand. If you go caving and you like going in caves like this, I understand that. Beautiful cave. Yeah, you might have to, shimmy through a tight wall to get here. But, there's water, there's moss, there might be stalagmites, stalactites. Fairly interesting, enjoyable, looks great. I get that. You got to go on a hike to get there. But if it's a cave, then there's this caving, where you have a guy shimmying through a hole that is usually a lot smaller than this, not to get to the first image, but to do this, get to an area that's probably even smaller, and then turn around and go back. The level of anxiety I would have. This is 19 million views. The worst claustrophobic caving you'll ever see.
Back. On his first attempt to the tightest portion of the entrance, all right, one of the cavers has become stuck in the passage. These kinds of maneuvers can be dangerous.
Are they having fun? Are they having fun? Are they never look, I'm never seeing somebody smile.
You just got to move slow and then kind of wiggle your shoulders so that they come unstuck from the ceiling.
Most of your clothes, though.
You know how much I would panic. Like, I already know I'm going to scream. I would go, the thing that makes this scary is that there's no give. When you're stuck in a space like this, if I was able to, like, move and it would push what was on top of me. Like, have you ever been, like, rolled in a mat in, like, gym class? This is the best example that I could give. Have you ever been, like, rolled into a mat or something? Like, have you ever been confined in a space and you move and you can get out of it? Or there's give. Even if you can't get out of it and your friends are, like, trapping you in the mat or something, there's, like, enough, you have wiggle room. This, you're wedged between two rocks to where you move and it's just, I would immediately feel that zero give and just go, fuck!
Yeah, I mean, that's why you got to wiggle your, it can definitely, from the other side.
Like, I would definitely faint. I would definitely faint.
You can definitely whittle it down more.
It. You have to decide which way you want your head to be, because once you're locked into position, it's pretty much it. Okay. This is fun.
Is it?
I was hoping for this. Okay, so I haven't really tried it. It's still not that tight for me.
So he wants it to get smaller.
Boy, this cardboard makes a big difference. Is this wider?
So he's not scraping his fucking chin on sharp rock?
Right here or less way? Okay.
Yeah, that new caver tech. A piece of wet cardboard. Anyways, back to the actual video we're watching.
The two leaders of the group had already explored this cave before, which reassured everyone else. This particular cavern was known for its tight spaces and the very few areas where a person could fully stand. After a few hours inside, 4 of the cavers realized how difficult the cave actually was and decided to return to the surface. They noticed a cloudy sky, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary.
Oh my god, it's gonna rain on them and they're gonna drown.
Remaining cavers continued their descent until they reached the far Marathon Passage, which measured only 18 inches by 12 inches, with a small...
How do you fit in that? How do you fit in that? I genuinely don't think this part of my body could fit in this. Why? Width? Length, yeah. Like, this way, I'm not a foot thick. But this way? Like, I would be like this. Like, crawling like...
Small stream of water flowing along the bottom. Everything seemed to be going well, and the group on the surface soon noticed that it had started raining, so they took cover. Initially, the rain did not seem concerning, but the cavers inside began to notice rising water levels. When the water became alarmingly high, they decided to end the day's work and head back, even though they were still 3 hours from the entrance. Meanwhile, the surface...
3 3 hours?
Group spotted something terrifying. A lake of water had formed around the cave's entrance. The cavers inside had no idea how much water was about to flood the cave. The surface group ran to get help, while the cavers frantically tried to reach higher chambers. However, the water continued to rise, pressing toward their faces. Rescuers and hundreds of volunteers worked tirelessly, pumping water out of the cave and pumping oxygen inside, hoping that the cavers had found a safe chamber. Unfortunately, every one of the cavers drowned. Shaft sinkhole tragedy. It was May 28, 1973, and a group of 9 diving experts had planned a dive at Mount Gambier's shaft.
And did they go to get that? Like, why are we allowing people to do that? Why are we allowing people to go into those fucking caves? Whatever country this cave is a part of should, like, wall that like, fill that shit with concrete and go, you're not allowed to go in there. Because you're just gonna somebody's gonna die.
Sinkhole. This sinkhole had a unique feature. There was only a tiny opening leading to a cave with a lake 20 feet below. From this opening, a beam of light went down into the cave and onto the lake, which was extremely helpful for the diver's orientation. This beam was visible throughout most of the cave, unless divers ventured too deep into one of the 2 side branches. Everyone initially agreed that they would stay within a 200-foot maximum depth range so they could remain in the main chamber and still see the guiding light. This was their only plan. On the second day, however, 4 divers planned to go to the western section of the cave, aiming for a depth of 250 feet, which would have been a new record. This was deeper than initially intended and posed a significant...
They ain't bring like a string? They ain't bring like a string. Like a rope. And you go, oh fuck, I gotta go that way. And you start dragging yourself. Some shit like that. We're just fucking getting lost in this cave and going, I don't know where I am.
Significant risk because in 1973, divers were still using regular air cylinders rather than mixed gas tanks. For this reason, they had to be more cautious as they went downwards because nitrogen narcosis might have settled in. As they went down, the increasing pressure would have pushed the nitrogen into the bloodstream, producing a state of consciousness that is similar to when people are drunk. Keep in mind that these divers were not very experienced in cave diving. They were more accustomed to standard open water scuba diving. This added even more risk to their plan. They started going downwards into the western section of the cave, and one experienced diver noticed that nitrogen narcosis was kicking in, so he immediately went back out. Several of them followed him and went back to the surface as well, but 4 of them kept going, determined to set the record and get a quick look before resurfacing. After a minute or so, the group at the surface became concerned, realizing the 4 divers would soon exhaust their air supply. A few returned to the cave to...
I'm not going back down. I ain't going back down, bro. If I had a walkie-talkie, I would deadass say that. I would go, I'm not coming to get y'all. I'm turning around. I feel like I'm a fucking pass out. Don't die. Bye.
Find them, and they discovered a flashlight and a camera on the bottom, but no trace of the divers. There was a problem that we haven't yet mentioned: silt. The movements of the 4 divers
oh my god, did it collapse on them?
stirred up the long settled silt into a sand cloud that would take a lot of time to settle back. This reduced visibility to less than an arm's length, removing any hope for orientation for the underwater divers. Without being able to see anything, oxygen running dangerously low, and nitrogen narcosis kicking in, the 4 divers drowned. Jacob's Well tragedy. It's November 23, 1983, and 2 students from Texas State University, named Richard and Clark, are about to enter...
This is stressing me out so much. This is stressing me out so much. This is stressing me out so much. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. How are they doing these things that are so fucking dangerous without literally one plan? Literally one plan, no fucking backup. Like, I feel so bad they died, but I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Texas State University, named Richard and Clark, are about to enter Jacob's Well, an underwater hole that leads to an underwater cave. This hole seems relatively shallow, around 25 feet, and many people try to touch the bottom and then come up. However, this is just a deceiving appearance because it actually leads to another underwater cave with 3 chambers. The first 2 are relatively open and easy to get through, but the third one has a really small squeeze to get into it. If you manage to squeeze through, you'll enter a room that is 10 feet tall, and you'll see a really small hole at the farthest edge, too small to pass through. This small tunnel was just 2 feet in diameter, and 2 years prior, 2 people died in it because after they managed to get through, a rock slide filled with gravel blocked.
And they didn't fucking make it inaccessible to people.
Now, getting back to our 2 students, they were fairly experienced in normal diving, but not in cave diving, and they were trying to get their instructor certification in open water diving. Their instructor, Don, was an incredibly skilled and experienced diver, and he was the one who removed the 2 bodies we just talked about. He used to constantly warn everybody to stay away from Jacob's Well since it's deadly, and he even tried to cover up the small hole that leads to the 4th chamber with some cement, but other divers reopened it and left a message that said, "You can't keep us out." Don himself almost died.
Yeah, stupid. You can't keep us out. Yeah, freedom. Dumb goes in the 2-foot hole, buddy. Yeah, how fun. How fun. You gotta squeeze through a fucking water passage.
Died in Jacob's well. When he tried to enter the fourth chamber, a gravel slide trapped him in the tunnel. He almost resigned himself to death. His tank was empty, and he had swallowed some water when his survival instinct kicked in, and he started rapidly moving until he cleared enough gravel to escape. When he did, he saw his diving colleague extending a regulator for him to breathe. As he started resurfacing, the air inside his body expanded until he reached almost 4 times his normal body size. By the
How would you not explode? Imagine if there was 4 of me. I'd be like, my actual body. Would your skeleton stretch or your skin?
time he broke the surface, he was screaming in pain. His belly was huge because his stomach had completely ruptured. These stories caught the attention of Richard and Clark, who wanted to take a look for themselves, even though
What are we doing? You hear the story of the guy that stomach ruptured, exploded from going down there, and we're gonna go, yeah, we're gonna go do that.
know much about cave diving. On November 23rd, 1983, they went into Jacob's well and reached the 3rd chamber, where the small hole was located. Richard removed his tank to get through the hole and started going in while holding his tank. When Clark removed his own oxygen tank and tried to get in, he saw Richard's face and noticed Richard didn't have the tank with him anymore and was suffocating. Clark quickly reached for the regulator and gave it to him, letting him breathe again. They started passing the regulator back and forth as they made their way out, and somehow they managed to get through the tight squeeze of the 3rd chamber. They then began making their way toward the exit until a terrifying sound caught their attention, a clank from their oxygen tank. Not only did this mean they'd hit a wall with the tank, so they were going the wrong
They were in the fucking top of the 3rd chamber.
direction, but it also meant the tank was almost empty. They realized they'd run into the false chimney in the 1st chamber, a tunnel that looks like it leads to the surface, but is actually a dead end. Clark managed to swim back to the surface and gasped for air after covering an incredible 75 feet in a single breath. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for Richard, who remained behind and drowned. When Clark called the police for his
Oh, the survivor's guilt would be fucking brutal. Oh, the survivor's guilt would be fucking brutal, dude. Living through that.
assistance, Don the instructor himself showed up and was stunned to see his students there. Gollum's Cave. It's August 18th, 2005, and a group of 5 friends decided to venture into the Gollum Cave, also called the Cave of Death because of how dangerous.
I mean, are we being fucking for real right now? The cave. Hey, you want to hang out on Friday? We're going to go to the Cave of Death. No.
It was. They reached the entrance at 3 a.m., and one of the friends decided to wait for the others outside. They encountered their first problem when
They reached it at 3 in the fucking morning?
They reached the entrance at 3 a.m., and one of the friends decided to wait for the others outside. They encountered their first problem when actually trying to get in, as they had to crawl through a small pool of water. After that, there was a fork going left and right, and they chose left, which led them to
I would have chose left as well.
another small pool of water. This
Always go left.
seemingly innocent pool, however,
Actually probably
led to
not, because these guys...
another section of the cave through an underwater tunnel. The tunnel itself was really small, just 3 to 4 feet in diameter, and to get through it, you had to be completely submerged. This meant only one person at a time could go in, and they had to swim about 15 feet. One by one, they started plunging into the pool of water to reach the other side of the cave, and once they made it, they discovered a section with about 3 feet of airspace. From the perspective of the friend who stayed outside, there was no sound or light coming from inside the cave, and after a while he started to get worried.
No! No! I was gonna say this guy was smart. No! He's gonna go right. He's gonna go right and die. Oh.
He went into the cave himself, but heard no noises and saw no lights. Not sure what to do, he first called some friends who had experience with caving, and then called the police. He couldn't have imagined what was happening inside. The 4 friends who went in probably realized that the 3 feet of airspace they'd reached had bad air, which is a term cavers use for air that doesn't have the normal balance of gases, meaning there's more carbon dioxide and less oxygen. This reduces your ability to think, move, and breathe properly, making the return swim through that narrow tunnel super risky. They tried to get back out one at a time, but the first person who went underwater was unable to find the exit hole before running out of breath. That happened because the increased carbon dioxide messed with her ability to hold her breath and think clearly. After 30 to 60 seconds, the second person went in and found the first
And saw her dead body. Oh my god!
until all of them got stuck in the tunnel. The police arrived and tried to pump in oxygen and pump out water, while family and friends waited anxiously outside the cave. Unfortunately, it was all in vain. The bodies were later recovered, and the cave was eventually closed off with cement. If you want to discuss this video or suggest—
See, that's what they need to do. Wait, no, that's actually what they need to fucking do. Just shut that bitch off. Don't let him in. Don't let him in there, bro. Holy fuck. Let him go in a little pee-wee cave. Something that's not fucking scary. Jesus. There's like 10 of these videos, by the way. You would think that, like, oh, there can't be that many crazy cave deaths. Like, bro. Most painful cave deaths. Most painful cave deaths. Most painful cave deaths. They're all different. They're all different. Watch another one. Do we want to watch another one? We could watch another one.
On January 29, 2017, 32-year-old Gregory Wilhelm was vacationing in Maui, Hawaii with 3 friends when a fun day at Wanapanapa State Park turned into a nightmare. While visiting the park,
Wanapanapa.
the group discovered the entrance to the Wanapanapa Caves. The 4 of them, 2 men and 2 women, decided to take a swim in the well-lit pool near the cave entrance, just as many tourists had done before. While the women stayed by the pool, Gregory, eager to explore, convinced his male friends to join him inside the cave. Gregory decided to—
Yeah, just bro shit. Just bros. Just bros being bros. Yeah, you want to go squeeze through this tight cavern?
improvise and used his phone as a flashlight. He put it inside a Ziploc bag to avoid it getting wet. If they had been planning to do—
That would be about 1 foot of fucking light visibility. Your iPhone flashlight in a plastic bag. That's giving you no fucking light. That's like lighting a match.
cave exploration to begin with, they probably would have brought a proper flashlight. The women decided to wait at the swimming pool at the cave entrance. Gregory and 1 friend ventured into the darkness. After only a few feet, they reached an area where the water rose to their waists and encountered a boulder blocking the way. Beneath the boulder was a deep pool, a popular spot for divers, but without proper equipment, they agreed to do just a quick dive of about a minute before resurfacing. Since Gregory was the only one with a working light, his friend followed him underwater. Soon, they discovered that the depth was much greater than expected. Curiosity drove Gregory to explore further into a narrow passage, but as the water level—
Are they holding their breath? I don't even think I could hold my breath for a minute underwater, not moving. I don't think I could go, let me just fucking dive down and guess how much I'm able to breathe.
began to rise, his friend grew scared and swam back to the surface in total darkness without telling Gregory, leaving him behind. Eventually, though, Gregory needed air and tried to turn back, only to find himself surrounded by darkness. Panicked, he searched for an exit and managed to find a small pocket of air, but he soon realized how unpredictable the cave was. The water level shifted dramatically with time, and strong currents and violent waves were common. Forced to make a split-second decision before running out of air, he pressed on further into the cave. Meanwhile—
Why?
Gregory's friend miraculously resurfaced at the spot where they had originally dived, but there was no sign of Gregory. Worried, the 2 women decided to enter the cave, and inside, they found Gregory's friend in a state of panic and disorientation. Realizing that Gregory's life was in danger, his male friend re-entered the cave in total darkness.
They don't have another light? I'm not, bro, no light. You're going in it's pitch black. It's pitch black in that bitch. You're going back down? Yeah, good friend. He's dying too.
To help him find his way back. After making a 3rd dive, he spotted a tiny light in the distance that grew brighter as he approached. It turned out to be the flashlight on Gregory's phone. However, when he picked it up, Gregory was nowhere to be seen. He returned to his friends, and together they rushed out of the cave to call the Hana Fire Department, which immediately contacted rescue crews. Later, reports indicated that Gregory had lost his sense of direction in a very tight passage. Each failed attempt to retrace his steps only made him more panicked. Eventually, he took a wrong turn, and by the time he tried to find his way back, it was too late. He drowned in total darkness. When rescuers finally arrived, they found Gregory's body 75 feet deep in the cave. The Goss Canyon tragedy. On September 17, 2000, brothers Michael and Paul Hayden abandoned well cave in Goss Canyon in La Crescenta, Montrose, California, a cave they had known well from childhood visits with their 4 other siblings. This particular cave featured dry ledges and holes, as well as a water pool approximately 100 feet deep, situated between water shafts above. They entered the cave through a small 3-by-4-foot entrance that led to a horizontal passage about 50 feet long.
That's not that scary to me. Like a 3-by-4, 4-by-3... You know, if I gotta, like, crouch walk or crawl, that's not scary. The second I'm laying down and belly shimmying is a no-go.
Paul, a master sergeant and elite scuba diver with the Air Force Pararescue Force, took the lead. He was equipped with scuba gear that provided him with 2 hours of air and had a GoPro strapped to his head to serve as a light. Meanwhile, Michael stayed near the pool area to monitor his brother. They used a rope tether system attached to a large boulder in the
Smart.
main cave. Michael would tug the rope to check on Paul's status, and Paul would respond with similar tugs to indicate he was okay. For the first 20 minutes, their communication system worked flawlessly. Then, when Michael pulled the rope twice, expecting a response, he received none. Pulling again, he found the rope was tight and immobile. Initially thinking Paul was stuck, Michael pulled as hard as he could. When nothing changed, he immediately left the cave to seek help from the local fire department, knowing that Paul had only 90 minutes of air remaining. Fortunately, the local fire department responded immediately, along with the LA Sheriff's Office and the LA Fire Department, and quickly traveled to the cave entrance to begin.
I'm gonna sound like a fucking idiot here. Does the fire department have like scuba gear? I obviously I think this is areas where there's caves, because in like New Jersey, you know, there's like if I called the fire department, it was like my friend's stuck in a cave, they're gonna go, what the fuck are we gonna do?
In the rescue. When Paul's GoPro was found, its footage was analyzed, and it revealed the exact moment he—
Oh, they have oxygen tanks that are ready for any situation, you think? You think the oxygen tanks that firefighters use in like burning houses could be used underwater?
removed his regulator to breathe air from an air pocket in an abandoned water shaft. The air in these pockets, whether formed in abandoned water shafts or naturally within the cave, did not circulate and was contaminated by decay gases from the surrounding soil, rock, and organic material, as well as by gases released through water erosion of stones. This leads to a dangerous increase in carbon dioxide concentration. Although Paul was a scuba diver, he was not a certified cave diver. He knew the risks of air pockets in caves and usually carried a lighter to test the oxygen levels before removing his regulator. However, on that tragic day, he didn't have his lighter and assumed the air was safe for a short breath. The footage also showed the walls of the shaft and then captured Paul's submersion in water as he made no attempt to replace his regulator. He lost consciousness instantly, becoming incapacitated.
Wait, one breath and you're out of bad air. I would think maybe like 5 minutes there, you're gonna fucking faint. One, and then you're fucking...
And inadvertently poisoning himself with CO2, dying within a minute or two as he sank to the bottom. The Santa Rosa Blue Hole Tragedy. On March 26, 2016, two skilled cave divers went on a dangerous mission to map an unexplored part of a cave system in Santa Rosa, New Mexico. Unfortunately, something terrible happened. Deeper caves beneath its floor were sealed in 1976 after two divers died. In 2016, after reopening the entrance, a 10-person team, including experienced cave divers Mike Young and Navy veteran Shane Thompson, spent 3 days exploring the reopened tunnels and chambers. On the third and last day, Mike and Shane planned to explore a very tight spot at 140 feet.
I don't know. In my mind, I'm going, if anybody ever died there, I wouldn't want to do it. But to them, that's like part of the thrill. Because cave diving is like a little bit of the, it's the exploration, but you're not really seeing like fish and shit. It's like more the adrenaline of like going through and mapping these caves. And hearing somebody die makes you want to do it more.
Then moved down to another narrow opening at 165 feet. Shane was told to wait at the open area and not go past the second opening himself. Beyond the 165-foot point, there were 5 more tight spots before the cave's last known area. Mike followed a guideline that had been set earlier, moving through boulders and squeezing through narrow passages while carrying tanks on his side and a rebreather unit. Shane had been following Mike up to the 165-foot opening. There, Mike told him to wait. But as soon as Mike was out of sight, Shane decided to follow him, even though that was against their plan. Mike did not know that Shane was right behind him. Shane followed the guideline along a rocky path over large boulders and sharp bends until he reached a narrow 3-foot opening. At that point, the water was full of silt, and he ran into another tight passage. He turned his body and tried to pull himself along the wall, but his back-mounted rebreather got caught on a rock sticking out from the tunnel ceiling. With one arm forward and the other touching the cave wall and the guideline, he twisted, trying to free himself. Soon he found that he was stuck between the rocks. Moving backwards could have damaged his rebreather, which would have been very dangerous. As he panicked, his breathing became fast and shallow. Suddenly, Mike's arm hit Shane's head, and they ended up face to face at about 195 feet deep. Mike was surprised to find Shane there, and Shane said he was stuck and needed help. Mike tried for several minutes to free him, but they began to panic because the tunnel was too tight for both of them to move if Shane remained trapped. Finally, Mike pushed Shane in.
I would be so fucking mad. I would be so fucking mad at this guy. Oh, because he's the obviously, they shouldn't be down there to begin with. But he's the reason they die. Both of them die.
Just the right way to free his rebreather and pulled him through the tight spot. Shane then went back through the restriction he had just escaped, scraping himself on the rocks but avoiding getting stuck like the first time. Mike followed, but soon noticed that Shane had accidentally moved the guideline, leaving Mike unable to see where to go in the boulder-filled passage. Meanwhile, Shane continued along the winding path
And he fucking left him! Oh my god, no way.
faced yet another narrow passage. Still in panic, he moved too quickly and got the guideline tangled around his legs. He managed to free himself but lost the guideline in the process. His heart began to race and his breathing sped up. This was dangerous because rebreathers needed controlled breathing to work properly. With no clear exit and only tight holes around him, he could not reach the guideline he had seen just outside where he was trapped. He started to hyperventilate and could not calm down. At that moment, Mike reappeared. Seeing that Shane was very scared, Mike moved around the rocks to find an opening. He grabbed Shane by the shoulders and turned him around. Shane, seeing a way out, lunged forward and swam under Mike, but he became trapped again. This time, underneath
my god,
Mike's
I'm
body.
knocking him out. I'm knocking him out. I'm knocking him out and I'm leaving there. I'm knocking him out and I'm leaving him there. Dude, this guy is actually just getting them killed.
Unable to move forward. In desperation, Shane thrashed and kicked while Mike protected his face from the blows. During the struggle, Shane's heels tore Mike's suit and scraped him against the rocks before Shane finally broke free. Afterwards, Mike realized he was still able to function and that his equipment was mostly okay, except for a ripped suit valve that let the 52 degrees Fahrenheit water in. He had also lost a fin, but managed to get it back soon after. With his nerves wrecked, Shane continued along the guideline, determined to escape.
I hope Mike at least lives, bro.
Rebreather could not keep up with his fast breathing, so he switched to his emergency bailout tank for air. Approaching another series of tight spots, he pulled himself through with all his strength, but got stuck for the third time. And this time, Mike was nowhere in sight. Meanwhile, Mike had climbed a little and found a hole leading back to the guideline. Believing that Shane had gone ahead, he followed the line upward toward the next restriction. Feeling tension on the line, he assumed that Shane was pulling from the front. At the next tie-off, however, Mike realized that Shane was actually behind him, still attached to an earlier part of the guideline. Fearing the worst for Shane, Mike backtracked through the tight passages and boulders. But soon, the line stopped moving, a sign that Shane was in serious trouble. Pressing on, Mike discovered Shane wedged tightly in a narrow opening, lifeless, and no longer wearing his rebreather mouthpiece. His bailout tank was empty, his suit was torn, and the cord to his dive computer was ripped away. It was clear that Shane had fought hard to free himself, but had not survived. Mike tried to free Shane, but soon realized he had to start to get out and—
Hey, you gotta leave him. You gotta leave him. You gotta leave him. He's dead. He's dead. Okay, even if he's not dead in this moment, you're not getting him out in time to where he's alive. Like, it's fucked to say, but like he has to think for himself in that point.
report the tragedy to the rest of the team.
Oh my god, okay, he lived.
Turned the next day to recover Shane's body, having navigated those tight, maze-like passages through the boulder field all by himself. Culverson Creek tragedy. At around 3:45 p.m. on November 28, 1985, 7 cavers entered the Fuller's entrance of Culverson Creek Cave, a 20.8-mile-long system in Greenbrier County, West Virginia. The group had originally planned to explore Friar's Hole, but high water levels because of heavy rain forced them to switch to a cave less prone to flooding. None of the cavers had been in Fuller's before. The entrance passage was a canyon between 5 and 8 feet wide, with a 6 to 12-inch deep stream flowing swiftly over small, loose rock slabs. About 50 feet inside.
How many people have died in caves, bro? This is like the second of fucking 30 videos that this one YouTuber has made. I did not know this many people have died in caves.
Yes, with 26-year-old Eric Sokol leading. As Sokol reached the center of the boulder, it suddenly tilted to the left. Despite the cavers' attempts to stop it, the rock moved, pinning Sokol by his head in a standing position. One caver immediately left to get help, while 4 others attempted in vain to move the boulder. Then, one caver supported Sokol from below, as 3 companions searched the entrance cave for something to use as a lever. They tried with old truck parts, but they proved ineffective. One caver was sent to fetch a hydraulic auto jack, and another called the Eastern Region Cave Rescue Network at 4:10 p.m. Sokol lost consciousness within 30 seconds of the rockfall and stopped moving after about 1 minute. At 3:59 p.m., John Evans, a member of the group, noted that Sokol's pulse was still strong despite his unconscious state and a trickle of blood from his left nostril. Around 4:20 p.m., the hydraulic jack arrived on the scene. With its help, along with some crowbars, the team was finally able to shift the boulder. Sokol was carefully moved to a dry dry spot about 20 feet away, and CPR was initiated immediately. The Rennick Rescue Squad soon arrived, and a paramedic took over CPR at 4:29 p.m. Sockley was evacuated on a stretcher and reached a hospital by ambulance. Despite establishing IVs and administering cardiac drugs, his condition did not improve, and he was pronounced dead at 6:05 p.m.
That one's, I mean, they're all sad, but that one's so sad too, because it's like, that's not even like they did something that was like stupid. I mean, going caving's like not smart, but it's like the boulder fell on him in a cave area that wasn't even that tight. Oh my God, that's so sad, bro.